Okay. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at this painting by George Caleb Bingham, Fur Traders on the Missouri from 1845. It's 29 by 36 inches and it lives at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. I love this piece. I think it's a really gorgeous example of tone, darks, midtones, darks, midtones, lights, or, basically what 1, 2, 3, 4 zones as well, or 5 or 6, however you want to break it up. You can break it up into more. But I also think it's a landscape with people in it. I don't think it's a figurative painting. I think so what I want to show you how to do is use a landscape, and then we're going to take these people, we're going to make this painting, but we're going to change our figures and make them more contemporary, or change the people on the boat. So you can do that, or you could just follow along and use the figures on the boat if you feel like you don't. You can simplify them though, you can do other things. So looks like our horizon line is like somewhere in the distance back here, right around where their heads line up. And then we have the boat horizon line. So we have zone 1, zone 2. I guess we could consider zone 2 these foreground trees, and then a zone 3 will be the background, but there is a slight difference in trees back here. So let's sketch it out and see what happens. So the first thing I want to do, and this is just a sketch, this is how do we do a transcription, or how do we make a painting that's similar to a master painting, inspired by a master painting, but also yours and contemporary. So we steal a little, we borrow a little. Really, we're just learning from each other. We learn from each artist. So what I'm doing is I looked at the horizon line, and then I looked at generally the boat line. And then I'm going to look at the distance from the edge of the water of the paper to the boat. And now my paper is smaller than the drawing. I'm just sort of trying to get an idea of what's going on here. I'm going to make man number 1 over here. He's going to be he started as a triangle, and now I'm breaking him down into a few more simple shapes to have his arms in there. Now remember, if I'm going fast, just pause it. That's the joy of a recording, is that you can pause it whenever you want to slow down and catch up. So if there's something you want to do, I often, when I'm taking a class online, what I'll do is I'll watch it one time and just watch. And then I'll watch it a second time, and that time I'll actually do it with the with me. I mean, with the teacher. Excuse me. Okay, so my man's getting a little big here. He's bigger than my actual real drawing, so I'm going to shrink him way down here. I got a little crazy there. He needs to shrink. Look at that. So this is what happens when I talk. I lose myself. Okay, so then we have this other box here, and there's a guy on the box. So one thing to do to keep yourself pretty simplified here is to just think of this whole thing as one shape, one dark shape. Even though there's light on the hat, there's light in different little bits of areas, there's still, in general, this is a big dark shape. Isn't it funny that there's a cat on the boat? So instead of drawing the details, I've simply turned this into one big simple shape. The shadows are pretty dark too, so let me just go ahead and remind myself of my tonal scale here. 1, 2, 3. I guess I'm having 5 today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is my darkest, then 4, then 3, then 2, and 1 is white. Okay, so the shape behind the figures, coming in here, it's a lovely little cloud-like shape. Whoop. It's got it neat over here. So what I did is I started at his head to draw that first shape, got it in. As I was traveling over, I realized, oh, I was way too far over. So then I moved it back over to him. Now I'm going to do the other one, and I can pretty much figure out where it's going to end that hay grassy area. I have this tree shape, and that's going to be a number 4. So that already tells me that my number 5 is going to darken up the bodies here, the figures in the boat, and I didn't even get the little cat in, but you can put him in if you want. Or you could make it a different animal. You can make it a dog, kind of looks like a bat. There we go. Round him out. I love to do that, just sort of play around with the silhouette and see if you can't find the shape by just sort of scribbling around and feeling your way through it. So that is a good reminder for me that all this is going to darken up because the stuff behind it is dark too. So I need to make sure this is darker. So that's a number 4. Sorry, number 5. And then the trees behind it are a number 4. And the shadows down below, those are pretty dark too. So we have to consider that. Okay, so that's a row. And then there's more trees behind. Just kind of feeling my way through these tones. You can break it up into more if you want. You know, the bottom of the boat's a lot darker. I simplified, and I made I made some choices to simplify the front shape as a one zone, one dark zone. But this reflection's pretty dark too. The bottom of the boat is darker than the rest of it. So if you want to break that up into more tones, you can, but don't do more than 5. Once you do that, you start shading again, and we have to remind ourselves of that again. Okay, so now what? So we have zone 1, zone 5, zone 4. Zone 4 is in here as well with some zone 5, so we need to darken all this up. It's kind of like straight down area. And it lightens back up after his reflection over here. This is pretty dark. Then we have yet a lighter shade. There's like a little detail back here. It's very frothy, frosty back here. Okay, this is looking pretty good. There's a light zone that needs to come back here. Add a little, make it dark there, or does it needs to actually get darker? Darkening again. So everything is relative to everything else. So if one thing gets darker, another thing might need to also get darker or lighter. Or it might make the other thing look lighter. That's usually what happens, is that you darken one thing and then you realize that everything else, a lot of other things also need to darken up that were being kind of ignored. Okay, so behind his back, it's quite light. It's a number 2. I only have a really dark pencil, so I'm just going to kind of blend out my number 2s here. I'm going to just use my finger to get some of those. Pretty good. Okay, so now what? Now we have a tonal drawing. It's pretty good. we could change it. We could make the drawing into something else, or we can just do a little study. So maybe you want to change something now. Maybe you want to, I don't know. I don't want you to move the composition, but if you want to change the figures now, you can. You could maybe make one standing up instead, or you could make one sitting. But I kind of like the way this is looking right now, just as a transcription. So I'm going to keep going with that. So I have some pastel pencils that I'm going to use to just put down some color here. So thinking about color now, if we're going to go from this to this, we need to have, you know, some clear choices here. Our number ones are going to have some yellows in them. Our number twos are going to have some ochres. Number 3 is going to have a lot of greens. Number 4, I want to make dark blue. That's so light, but that's all I got. And then finally, I'll use this dark red as my darkest color. And when I layer them, they'll get darker in certain places. So just generally, oop, the pastel does not want to lay on top of that. I'm gonna get it in there a little bit anyway. There we go. You know, we're doing a simplified version of this anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this is a good starting point. This is a way for you to get acclimated to painting people in a landscape. Then you can try making up your own. Man, those dogs are going for it out there. Some barking dogs. I'm trying to get little bits of red on here. It's not really wanting to take at all. I'm going to try some yellow in some of these highlight areas where I see a lot of yellow. And yellow is always a really good color to start with if you're intimidated by color, because it's very forgiving in that, you know, if you put blue with it, it'll get some green tones, and that's really nice. Or if you put red with it, it'll take some orange tones, and it blends with a lot of colors that we use a lot. So for me, it tends to be a really good in-between color, a good, you know, indicator of light, obviously, but there's more to it than that. I don't know why I ignored this. Okay, now let me try some of this mossy green in here. Just as a study to understand how your colors can become tones. You know, this green is very bright here, but when putting it on top of a darker color, it's pretty happy to be sort of a much more mossy, mauvey green. Much darker because we added black, so we added shade to it. So we're dealing with tints and shades when we're thinking about tone. You know, we do this a lot in our class when we're in person. So I just want to remind you, you know, if you are a plein air painter, your front yard is a great place to set up shop. There, you don't need to leave your home. You don't even need to leave your home. You don't have to even go out your front yard. You can actually just look out a window. So some of my favorite painters like Stanley Lewis and Lois Dodd, they are artists who paint from their home. They paint from their studios. They look out the window. They include the window. And it's just a pretty, you know, I think there's something to be said about painting what you know. In fact, is there anything else you can do? Really? I'm trying to just get some of the line quality that's happening in here. See if the red wants to go this way. Nope. Okay, what was the other color I chose? Blue. Where'd the blue go? Let's see. Where can we put that blue? We can put that blue all over. It's going to get misty back here. Love how that blue looks on top of that yellow. The same kind of sensation you get in the painting. This blue can go right over top all of this. You know, this is, sometimes it's just about texture, sometimes it's about color, sometimes it's about tone. To decide how you want to let the viewer know. This is an important shape behind this back. Kind of losing my figure, so I want to get him back in there. Also, great to just stick your eraser and you'll notice how dirty your paper's been getting, and you can pull out some really great light that way. Maybe try getting some of those reflections in the water. There's a stump in the water in the foreground here, I just now noticed. Okay, let's put some blue, a little bit of blues in the sky, a little darker over here. Blend it out. If you have a squirt bottle, you can squirt it, do another layer. You can put, oh, that's what I should try. Let me see, where did I put that? You can get some hairspray. And you can put a little layer of hairspray down. It'll darken it, but you can try working back into it right away with a little bit of wetness. You'll notice it'll have like almost like sandpaper. It'll have a little more grit to it, so it'll almost like more tooth. It'll pick up a little more of the pastel will sit in it a little better. Sometimes I like to do a couple, let it dry, spray it again. Any kind of hairspray. I mean, it's gonna brown your paper eventually, but see how it also turns much darker? But it dries back out, so don't worry too much about it. But you might lose some of your brights. In the end, I don't spray it. I spray it one last time, but then I put my white highlights on and then I leave it alone because I don't want it to lose its. Okay, so this is looking way darker than I want it to, even though I like those blues I put in. Lighten that back up. Some blues in here. Loving that blue. I'm loving this ochre too. So now now I can really start thinking a little bit more about texture and detail. Get some of the gold colors that are coming in. There's branches. There's a lot of this gold ochre. And if you can't get on where you put the pencil, that's okay. It's just, it's going to be super dark anyway there. So we're not over exaggerating. So see how that really is able to sit on top of the layer now? Let's try the green. Ooh, yeah. Let's look at the red twig coming up here. Can I get some red on here now? Yeah. Now I can get a hint of red on there. I don't know. I kind of like when things don't really work out for me. It makes me just, all right, well, still pretty, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting to happen. Nothing ever is. You know what? It's actually a lot more gold on this side and blue on this side. So just bring in some gold. Think about which direction. You want to go the direction of the wind, or when you blend, you want to blend at least the direction of the wind in the picture so we get the sense that the wind is blowing this way. Making circles, blending it out. So this is just a little study of this, but I think you can see. Oh, did I do it backwards? No. I thought I did it backwards. No. So now I want you to take your study and then you go do your real painting from it. So now you go do your watercolor, or you go do your, whatever paint method you prefer. Now that you've done this study, now you can go try making the actual painting with whatever material you want. You can try to make it look as much like this as you want, or you could change the figures, you could change the animal. I challenge you to change something. You could change the colors. Maybe you put him in a yellow shirt, maybe you put, try some, although there is this whole thing about the red bounce that's happening in this circle. So, make choices that you feel like you want to make. In the end, I just realized that I just wanted to do the piece. So up to you. I hope you enjoy this class, and I hope that you please send a picture of your study and then a final painting later on if you're able to do it. Have a good week.